You are watching the number one podcast in the whole entire YouTube wrestling community, and I'm one of your hosts, Juanzo.
And I'm your other host, Jean-Paul Leck.
Together we are
Rope Break.
Thank you, family, for being with us one more time, and it's time to talk about Monday Night Raw, go-home show for Elimination Chamber. Like Jean-Paul always mentioned in his reviews, some things quality is not the greatest word to use in Monday Night Raw. Some redeeming things that we can see, but outside of that, a pretty lame show. But I think that little things like woo, we might have somebody to be soon to be a daddy. So that will be interesting. And also somebody was inserted into the Elimination Chamber match. So we're going to be talking about everything. Thank you so very much for being with us. And tell me about this. We've been actually covering every single thing in the WWE. So we did NXT Takeover Vengeance Day. So what do you think, Paul?
Yeah, Vengeance Day, really good Takeover, like we say. Takeover always delivers, and, it was 5 matches. It was easy to watch, easy to digest. Great pay-per-view. We just wish the normal NXT shows were kind of this quality. Balor and Dunne was great, but, what followed it, I think, really, got people buzzing because, we saw Adam Cole not only super kick Finn Balor, which is okay, he wants the belt, that's fine, but he super kicked a long time, Undisputed Era member, Kyle O'Reilly as well. So is the Undisputed Era done? We don't know. And also, the finals of the Dusty Classics, and probably our favorite match, even though we didn't like the ending, Kushida and Johnny Gargano. So really good. Check out, our review, and also check out the pay-per-view because it was definitely worth it.
It was definitely worth it to look, and I feel that don't forget to check it out. Just that all I gotta say. So family, thank you for supporting us, and let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw, they added a gauntlet match. Gauntlet match for what? The main thing is just to whoever wins gets to be the last person to be inserted in the Elimination Chamber. So of course WWE has to be a little lame on that. I don't know how I feel about it, but when the show started with The Miz, Mike Mizanin, and like you said to me when we were talking about this, off camera, when he's put in situations that he can actually talk and be intense, they said, okay, dude, let's be 2016 Miz when you deliver that promo in the Smack Talk, or Talking Smack, that's what it is. So that was really cool. I really like when the Miz has the intensity up to 1,000. So he came out, and then also he got Drew McIntyre as the guest, so we got to see the WWE champion. And what do you think about this segment?
I mean, this was really good, like you had said it perfectly. The Miz, when he's on like this, it's, he's good. It's just when Morrison is there and they're like, hey, ho, ho, and all that other bullshit is when he really gets brought down, because his best talent is his mic skills. It's not his wrestling skills. He's not the worst wrestler, but he's definitely not the best. So, he needs that heel promo to really get him over. And this was good. He was pretty much just saying, Drew has all this pressure, the Elimination Chamber, all this stuff. And, the Miz, he's pretty much just saying, I don't think you can handle it. But he's being cocky about it. And he knows, and I say each and every week, the Miz can be a piece of shit. He can be a loser. He can be whatever. It doesn't matter, because as long as he has that Money in the Bank briefcase, he poses a threat to Drew McIntyre, and also, or not only, Drew McIntyre, because what he said later on in this promo, Roman Reigns, he has his eyes set on that title as well, maybe. So, this was really good, and I liked, he just kept getting under Drew's skin, and eventually Drew was like, shut the hell up, and then, he kind of was like, oh. And then he's like, now I'm going to talk. And if you interrupt me one time, I'm going to kick your ass. And then Drew barely started talking, and he's like, I'm getting frustrated and I'm upset. And Miz is like, I can understand why you're upset. Yes. And then boom, headbutt, and I hate how Vince McMahon loves catchphrases. He loves names. He loves things being repeated over and over. And every time Drew hits the Glasgow kiss, he always makes Samoa Joe say, give me a kiss. And, it was funny, the first time he said it. Now every time he does it and Samoa Joe says it on cue like a robot, I'm like, I hate how formulaic this show is. But, and I love then after that, Drew picks up the briefcase, just chucks it like a half a mile. You know what I mean? He launched that briefcase, and then the Miz, What did he say exactly afterwards?
Miz, he goes, like Miz says, I can understand your fury, Andy. He calls him Andy, and that's Drew's real name, and he says, but as soon as I have as soon as I have the briefcase, I have I control the strategy.
And that was
I'm the master on planning the strategies. He says, Paul.
Yeah.
He said, I will cash the briefcase at the perfect moment, and I'm warning every single one that is wrestling in the for any championship in the WWE, especially WWE or Universal Championship, because I'm adding pressures because I'm under control. And when all of this is over, it doesn't matter. I'll go for one of those titles, and I'll be, sooner or later, I'll be champ. And like Edge, I'm gonna just warning you also. I'm eliminating myself out of the chamber. So the Miz says, I'm out. I don't want to do this. So that was cool, though. I like how the intensity of the Miz.
Oh yeah, and you knew how intense he was getting because he was red in the face. He had the veins popping out on the forehead, and that was good. And that was the big, closing thing on this segment was he's taking himself out of, the Elimination Chamber. And I said to you right away, I was like, man, who the hell else is a former champ, WWE champ on this show? Because I'm like, that's who I would like to see. And then, I forgot about, Mr. Kofi Mania, who, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but he was the one who was inserted then because I did like that concept. But then to go on to, keep talking about that concept for the gauntlet match that you mentioned earlier, which would be the main event, I don't know how I feel about it either because I do like... let's determine who's going to be last to enter the chamber. I do like that. It shouldn't just be random, whatever, because then it adds some intrigue, adds some story, you know what I mean? But, but I don't, it's kind of lame for it to just be like, well, let's see all these guys wrestle, the last show before.
I don't like it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not needed. Look at the dent right there, like I hit it on the briefcase right there. Like, when he threw it, so the Miz was talking about that. But as you mentioned, just mention it now. Kofi, he said, well, I'm a former WWE champion. Can I get a shot? So, And the Miz shows up and he says, well, let's do it in a match. Of course, like WWE, everything they have to decide in the ring. Thank you to Miz.
Well, and before that, Miz actually said to Adam Pearce, he's like, he's like, pretty much I already have my replacement, because I'm backing out of this. Yeah, he wanted John Morrison, and he's like, oh, well, he's not a former, WWE champ. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's a former ECW World Heavyweight Champion, blah, 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 and all this shit. So, and then it's like, oh, okay. He's like, I'll see what I can do. And they shook on it. And Miz is like, oh, thank you, sir. And then Adam Pearce is like, thank you. Like, who the hell is this? And then, like you said, then Kofi and Xavier were all pissed off. And they're like, well, Kofi's a former champ and all this stuff. And they're like, let's settle it in a match. So, I mean, that was okay. I didn't mind that. And Kofi, I don't mind him being inserted into the chamber because, one, we know he's not going to win. That's not figured into the story. And will he put on a better match, or will it be a better match with him than the Miz? Yeah. Absolutely. Because, him and Bryan at the end of that chamber, when Bryan retained going into that WrestleMania, that could have been a legit one. That was like Taker and Shawn at the end of the Rumble. It was like a legit singles match.
And a lot of people thought that was the moment that he was going to win. So I agree with you. So it doesn't matter. Like, they needed somebody more agile and better. The Miz, it's not.
And the Miz, it's like, why should he be in that when he also has the briefcase? It's like, let him just pose that threat with the briefcase.
Yeah, exactly. So that made a lot of sense. So now let's move on to the next segment. It's a 6-man tag. We got our boy Riddle with Lucha House Party going against the Hurt Business. We got to see the Lucha House Party kind of are having the feud with the title, with the tag team titles, Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. And now Riddle is still going to have the triple threat match with Lashley and Keith Lee, the Elimination Chamber. So we got Matt Riddle talking to the Lucha House Party. I love about like Star Wars or something.
But he's like your favorite. He's like Chewbacca. Today, it's President's Day, so he's like, who are your favorite presidents? He's like, I love Abraham Lincoln. He was a vampire hunter. Did you guys see that movie? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then he's like, yeah. Harrison Ford's my favorite president. When he saved Chewbacca, man, and they're looking at him like, what the hell is this guy talking about? They're like, yeah. He's like, who's your favorite president? And they're like, oh, yeah, we like all the presidents, you know what I mean? Like, let's get ready.
Well, they have to say that because they're going to be deported, you know that?
Oh, well, yeah, and of course, they were trying to sell Riddle, but really they're like, okay, this guy's doing too much juice, like, all right, but, I love Riddle. To me, this was hilarious, and I said it before in NXT, I like how the Lucha House Party now, their gear color-wise is matching. They're wearing the same mask. It, helps them look more like a team, more legit. And this match was pretty good, for the opening match of the show. I really did like it. The Hurt Business looks good. Shelton to me, every time I see him, I'm like, this guy's so good. And I say it all the time, but Shelton is just so good. The way that, he can sell things, the way he hits all his moves, it's all legit. It's not like when he goes to kick a guy and you see, he's 5 inches away from that dude, and yeah, that clearly looks like he didn't hit him. No.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Shelton is so badass, and Cedric is really good too. The Lucha House Party, I think they're good. A couple times I saw Grand Metalik, like I said, he goes to hit a drop kick and it's nowhere near the guy and stuff like that. So I saw the cameras, they quick cut, we don't want to see that. But I mean, this went, like a typical, I feel match like this would go, because you saw Bobby Lashley in the back wearing a suit.
Bobby Lashley was in the back too.
So you probably thought, he's not going to come down during the match, and maybe afterwards he'll come down, but not during it. He's wearing the suit and everything. So I didn't think that would be a factor. And Lucha House Party, they sold, but eventually
he got somewhat injured too, right?
I actually didn't see when that happened, because I know he tagged in the one time and he went to go pin Lince Dorado. Lince Dorado, kicked out, and he tried to pin him 4 times. Every time he kept kicking out, earlier and earlier. So then he tagged right back out, and then at the end of this thing, when Riddle's in, he tags in. And, Riddle hits the final flash knee strike, I believe, on Shelton or Cedric. He took them out. And then, because the whole match broke down. Flash, right? He did yeah. And then he hit the final flash on MVP. He hit the floating bro. 1, 2, there you go. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and they won. And it's but MVP, even when he hit the ball and elbow and all that, he could, when he hit the ropes and then comes back and stops and, does the ball, and you could really tell that knee was messed up. Commentary even made mention. So, I mean, I guess the one good thing about it is MVP's not really active. He hasn't fight, really. Yeah. He's not real active competitor. So, I mean, you don't want to see him be hurt regardless, but, it is something to make note of. And then after the match, they celebrate, we won. But then Lashley comes out and he just pretty much destroys all these guys and puts
one more time, Bobby,
puts the hurt lock on Matt Riddle. And, that pretty much ends the segment. He's done. And so now we see Matt Riddle, at least, he doesn't look too strong going into the pay-per-view. But I didn't mind this segment. The only thing I wish Keith Lee would have came down, kind of made the save, as in, he's just on stage and maybe Lashley drops Riddle and then they have a stare down and then that's it. You don't need to see the guys fight. Keith Lee doesn't need to take out MVP, Cedric, and Shelton and bury the tag team champs or anything. Yeah, exactly. But I feel speaking of buried, that looks like him and Lana a couple months ago.
Yes,
but I mean, you don't need to bury Matt Riddle like this, especially because we'll do the previews and predictions on Saturday a little bit.
Yes,
but I don't see
for you guys. Yes.
But I don't see Riddle winning this, so I don't know about burying him unless they are going to pull the Isaiah Swerve Scott and have Riddle win this match. But we'll see.
Like you said, right there, we're going to have the championship. They also said, in the Spanish commentary, they said that Keith Lee is still kind of injured for what happened last week. So that's why we didn't see him at all. So that's funny how sometimes if you watch the Spanish announcing thing, they can give you different information that the American side of things. But like you said, it would have been legit if Keith Lee shows up, but to me it's he's newly engaged, so he requested the day off. Who knows? Hey, I'm just gonna
you want to be on Raw, and he's so I'm begging my fiance.
I'll be Raw. Okay, I'll be Raw, but I'll be Raw with Mia Lane, with Mia Yim. So that's fine, absolutely fine. But like you said, Riddle gets I think to me actually is he gets this, all done, but maybe he could win the championship at the Elimination Chamber. So we're gonna be talking about all of that. There you go. Mamita, mi amor. Right there. Mandy Rose and
somewhere Otis is crying. Somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it is definitely crying because it already happened. It is already happened. It doesn't matter what Otis thinks, but right there. So you see that, and kind of Bad Bunny is there, at least, a lot of controversy, but we're not even going to dig into that because there's no point on doing that. But in that, Damian Priest shows up and he's like, "What's up, bro? How you doing?" And then right there we got to see Akira Tozawa one more time. I'm like, can Tozawa ever challenge for another championship?
Can you do this? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have no problem with them promoting Bad Bunny because, one, he's a wrestling fan, a legit wrestling fan. Yeah, so that's legit for them. And, he brings a lot of new eyes to the product. He moved a lot of merchandise. So you can't blame a business for wanting to,
Business.
do good business. So
Yes.
that I don't blame WWE for, but it's like, okay, maybe present them in a more serious manner. Have a legit feud set up for Damian Priest. Maybe Bad Bunny can just be like his, his friend that hangs around with Priest and whatever, to get Priest over, to get, Bad Bunny over in the eyes of WWE fans. But no, they don't do anything legit like that. We just see, like you said, R-Truth, Tozawa, pretty much rolls up R-Truth, and then they're like, "What the hell?" He's standing there.
Does that ever challenge for something else? Like, can I get a cruiserweight champion again?
I mean, that would be legit, him versus Santos, but the guy's presented like such a loser. At least he doesn't wear the ninja outfit on NXT. But
yes, at least like NXT is like, you're going to be legit, but like you said, oh my gosh.
And then Priest pretty much punches him out, and then Bad Bunny just stands there like, so, and he's like, we'll cover him. And then he covers him because at least Priest didn't cover him. At least Priest is like, I ain't, degrading myself to be that bullshit
champion. I don't take an emotion just when I get to the main roster. Yeah, it's not happening. So like you said, like he pins him and then he becomes champion. And then, right away I told, well, first of all, Tozawa was the champion for 2 seconds, and now Bad Bunny. So Bad Bunny is a 24/7 champion. Like you said, it makes sense. Why? Because, it is a championship that nobody wants to hold in the WWE. It's the forbidden championship. So whatever. Like, and is he going to have the match at WrestleMania? Yeah, for sure. You can lock that, We'll talk about on the preview for Elimination Chamber more. But, like segments like this is like what they take me a little bit out of it. But they have to have it. You gave the reason, absolutely right with you. So let's go to like the big news here. Tag match: Charlotte and Asuka going against Peyton and Lacey Evans, and he's doing it. Do it. Yeah, doing it. Yeah, he's feeling it. Yeah, I love it. All right, so like they have the match, but like it really didn't turn out into a match. The one thing is like Corey, I have to agree. One of the few times I will agree with Corey Graves. Asuka looks like so lost despite being the champion. Don't you think? Asuka looks like, like nobody even cares about her anymore. So that really hurts me. But like you said, the feud is pretty much Charlotte and Lacey. So it's a pretty lazy booking also for that reason. But like, the storyline pretty much, Peyton Royce kind of had the match with Asuka a little bit. And as soon as Charlotte and Lacey were going to go at it, Lacey's like, nope, you're not touching me, girl. You're not touching me, nasty. I don't like that. And she goes goes right out. Jean-Paul, I'm pregnant. No, not Jean-Paul. It's like, Charlotte, I'm pregnant. Boo, and everybody's like, so,
I love as soon as she says that, immediately Flair's like, woo, and he's like, call me daddy. And he's right there, look, woo. And I mean, and of course, people are like, what? And apparently she dropped this on WWE yesterday, which she might have only found out, yesterday. Yes. But like, she's, apparently according to some, a couple websites and things are reporting, like legitimate ones, not like bullshit people on Twitter or anything. She's legitimately pregnant with her husband, not Ric Flair.
No, but not Ric Flair.
So they really don't, and that goes back to your previous point, because I mean, there was nothing really to say about this match. It was pretty much just the baby faces beating up Peyton Royce until we got this announcement. But yeah, Asuka does seem lost, and this was another thing where her feud with Lacey Evans, it was the same thing with Kushida. It's like Asuka was the stepping stone. It's like she wasn't even the main, the end of the feud. The end of the feud was Lacey and Charlotte, not Lacey and Asuka. Yeah. So it's like, what, that wouldn't have made any sense. Lacey probably wouldn't have went over. So I want to thank her husband. I'll give you a clap for having Asuka have for letting Asuka have a longer title reign, because she probably would have dropped it to Lacey. And then, like, to what you said, she does feel lost, but to me, she's more legit. Like, when Asuka is on and she can go and she's actually, being serious, I think she's more legit than Io. But Io is presented in NXT 100 times better than they present Asuka on the main roster.
Absolutely agree, sir. Because the point is like that. When Io, there's no point for Io to be goofy or even funny at times. So that's why you see the difference.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Asuka, like, she could be goofy when she's in there with a jobber, like beating up somebody. It's like, okay, this person's bullshit, whatever. But like, even when she's in there with Charlotte or Shayna and all these people, and she does like the woo and the hand things and like the goofy promo right before the serious match. It's like, let's see you be a little bit serious. That's the one thing. But they probably tell her to do that.
Oh, yeah,
go out and be goofy, be a clown, be whatever. And then Io comes out and she's all serious and she's all badass. And it's like, okay, that's a champion that, we can actually respect and get behind. With Asuka, like you said, it feels so lost.
It feels lost and it doesn't look good. And you see Charlotte is still, like use the shock in her face, like she's, oh my gosh, like what?
Oh yeah, especially because she has to sell it, like because
like he's a legit babe. Yeah.
I was gonna say kayfabe. Yeah, kayfabe. That could be her brother or sister.
Yeah, careful. Yeah, exactly. So but like you just mentioned, like is actually confirmed. Like is Lacey's expecting they're gonna have her on TV, selling this feud. There's not going to be a blow-off match, but it's just, they're going to play it out until they find something better. And like you mentioned to me, very like the match, the Elimination Chamber is at risk, so we don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, I would assume it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So
hopefully that like 8 to 10 minutes that match would have been. They just split it and give it to the 2 men's chamber matches.
And that would be fun. Yeah. Like you said, and if they need to find a better storyline for Asuka, absolutely they have to, because again, the girl is a lot of loss. Somebody that is not as lost, Sheamus, he says, hey, I'm pretty upset that I didn't receive, a singles match for the WWE Championship with McIntyre, but, I'm planning on winning the gauntlet match tonight, and then after that, I'm just going to get the advantage to becoming WWE champion. So at least, I like the intensity that like Sheamus has. And like, I remember he has the stenosis and all of that. So it's probably one of the last runs going for a championship. So I like that. So now let's go, Paul, really quick to the match of Kofi Kingston and The Miz. This match was actually not bad. What did you think of it? But I think there was a pretty decent showing for both. The Miz didn't look that bad.
No, he didn't. And, Kofi can actually, like, Kofi is good. I will never say he's not bad. I just don't like the character. I just don't like him and Xavier Woods. They're just too over the top for me. Like, if they would just turn, like, they can still have that personality, but they don't need to have the dial cranked up to 10 all the time. Sometimes you can leave it at a 5 or a 7 or an 8. You can go to 10 every now and again, but you don't need to constantly be at 10. But when the bell rings, I mean, Kofi's good. And The Miz, when he's in there with somebody like that, The Miz can be good too. And I think, with the intensity and everything we saw earlier in the night, I think that got The Miz going. I think that got the blood flowing in him, and he was like, okay, because this wasn't bad. I like early on, he went for the skull-crushing finale. Kofi went for the Trouble in Paradise, and they're both like, like, you know what I mean? They're like, nah.
He dodged it, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, they kept going, and this was pretty good, but we knew with the stipulation, and that was a cool stipulation. I do like that, how it's all WWE champions going to be in this chamber. I did like that. They weren't going to put John Morrison in. Even though John Morrison, him and Kofi, I won't say which one would have did the more athletic match. Morrison maybe, Kofi maybe, who knows? That's up for debate. But both these guys very similar. With the parkour style, jumping, flying, all this stuff. But, Kofi, I think, deserved it more with the WWE champion, stipulation, or like, everybody was a former champion, whatever you want to call it. So, I don't mind Kofi winning, and this was good.
Oh yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It was pretty good, and I think that hopefully Kofi will make the chamber a lot better. So Paul, it is time to talk about this storyline that everybody talks about every single time.
But that's it. Well, before we actually get to that, which sorry everybody, I know you're excited to hear about Nia Jax, but the one thing I was actually hoping with this, which would have played into a storyline, but like I said, Kofi is fine to be in the chamber. I was thinking Ali was going to come out. And screw Kofi out of this, because remember, Kofi was the one who replaced Ali in the chamber a couple years ago. That was the whole thing where Ali and Kofi and all them are feuding and they hate each other and everything. So I was thinking we were going to see that, and then we didn't see it. And then to skip ahead, we also didn't see it in the gauntlet match either. So I didn't like that. I thought, that would have been a perfect time to at least get Ali involved, do something to just be like, yeah, this feud's still going on. This is here. But, it was just a clean match. Like you said, Kofi won. But now, can you roll the clip again?
Yes. Let's go. Let's talk about. There you go.
Thank you. Yes.
Let's talk about the whole, all of that. So Lana is right there. Is backstage with Naomi, and Lana says that she feels like she's not lucky about last week. She doesn't feel she's lucky, but she's sure that the hate that she has for Nia Jax, she's gonna use it, and she's gonna have another victory this week, because this week, instead of going against Nia, she's gonna go against Shayna Baszler. So I mean, we knew. All I can say about Lana is just like she's just trying to be a better wrestler. You can see it, the intensity as she punches. She doesn't look as weak as before. And you mentioned this weeks ago. I remember in one of the reviews we did. This is like I cannot blame her for trying. So at least if you see that she's trying to go for like be a better wrestler, who can be upset about it? Don't you think?
Yeah. Because you can be like, oh well, why put her on TV if she's not good yet and she's only trying to, training and whatever. She doesn't walk into Vince McMahon's office with a gun and say, "Put me on TV." You know what I mean? He's the one who puts her on TV. So, if you're put on TV, I mean, hell, look at Wednesday night, some of the people that get put on TV. So, it's one of the things where she is getting at least a little better, I think. Just from wrestling, it has to happen. So, like I said, I won't complain about that, but a match like this is stupid. Either book the tag match, the tag championship match, or whatever, because to me this is stupid for the fact that Shayna has to go 5-6 minutes and sell Lana's offense when Shayna should be booked so much more dominant than she is. Shayna should have went in there and just, that's what it should have been 30 seconds into the match. Right? Clutch and done. Yeah, she should have hit those huge knee strikes she hits. Maybe, when she stomps on the arm or the elbow or the wrist or whatever it is, and then boom, Kirifuda clutch and done. But instead, it was a little bit competitive. Lana was actually getting a couple 2 counts.
Crossbody did also from the top rope.
Which Shayna had to stand there for and catch her.
That one was like 20 seconds.
And then Nia Jax, of course, gets involved, and then Shayna almost gets rolled up, and it's like, oh my god, I thought she was going to get rolled up, and that was going to be the end of it. But thankfully, Kirifuda clutch, we did see that Shayna did win, so it's like okay, but. Again, where is this going? What's the point of this? Because you have this tag team, this babyface team, the heel champions, and then you have the heel winners on the Dusty Classic, Dakota Kai and, Raquel Gonzalez. So I don't really know what this whole thing
I don't really know it, but like hopefully, like you said, book this thing out. They're not going to win the championship. Move on. Let's get actually real contenders. And then Dakota Kai and Raquel fit in, because that will be a legit feud. It's 2 teams that have like strong forces in Nia Jax and Raquel, and 2 good wrestlers that they had history in the past, Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler. So good stuff. On that, boom, Randy Orton, the Viper, says, hey, I'm gonna, I got to take away the Fiend. That was a problem. He was in the middle of my road, what my eyesight on, and that was the WWE Championship, the Fiend, done. And everybody's gonna fall into the 3 most deadly letters in professional wrestling, and that is rope break. No, it's not letters. It's RKO. But like all of that, he says, of course, he's kind of like a decent promo. Randy Orton is good, but he gets like actually interrupted by the girl Alexa Bliss, and Alexa, like she says that ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I love this picture, this reference. Like I kind of like a little bit demonic and satanic. I'm not into that, but it looks cool though. The visual of it is cool because you're selling like you're kind of like doing what you used to do in The Undertaker. Like he's like powers from like the dark side and like superpowers, all of that. So I really like this. And she says the Fiend will be reborn. So you see that like they're gonna do this, and the Fiend is gonna. To me, he's actually caused any distraction to Randy Orton in the chamber. What do you think about this segment from Alexa?
Yeah, I mean, this was fine, and I thought that this was going to play a factor into the gauntlet match, which it ended up, happening. And if the Fiend would come back during the chamber, I think that would be fine. But I think it would only really have an impact if Randy Orton was one of the, he was one of the final 2 in the chamber.
About to win.
Yeah, yes, because, how we saw it tonight was a little bit bullshit, which I'll talk about the booking of the gauntlet match, when we get there. But, I mean, this was fine. I guess it's good that the feud isn't over, but I don't know. I feel like Randy Orton, he had that legit run as the Legend Killer, very short title reign, but hey, it adds a title reign to his record. And then ever since then, he just kind of felt like lost. Like, he's still, like, main event, but it's just like, You know what I mean?
It's you don't really know what to do with him, and that's the one thing is like, when you just don't go for the championship, what do? How you stay main event?
And this whole Fiend thing, it's like, I think it feels lost and bullshit because of the match that they had. They had like that garbage match where he clearly lit a fake, mannequin body on fire, and then it's just, they didn't have a legit match.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing that like and also like the fact that like they're teasing the return. I'm not sure where this is going. Probably a match at WrestleMania. Hopefully that's the end of it, because I don't want to see this ever again. But at least if the Fiend comes out really strong, then he completely crashes Orton and all of that, so that would be a good payoff. But like you said, it feels like a little loss for Randy.
Yeah.
But, let's go to another one that is absolutely lost. Remember, he showed up the last time on SmackDown, clearing house, and now he shows up over here. And he's like, so why am I not added in the chamber? I've been a former Universal Champion. He's like, yeah, you were not WWE Champion because you suck. You could have been, but Lesnar beat you. So he said, who's calling the shots, me or Shane McMahon? And Adam Pearce is like, well, I'm just the messenger, all of that. So, I feel that he's going to cause some, stuff on the Elimination Chamber. He's going to show up and he's going to be either eliminating somebody, and whoever he eliminates, he's going to be the feud for WrestleMania.
I could maybe see that, but I really think they're going to do the Fiend. I don't see them doing two people. Now they could. It's WWE. They could do anything they want. But I feel like that would really soil the match. And they know, okay, we can get away with a little bit of our shenanigans, and it's okay. But you have two interferences like that, I think they know the fans will really be like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, you're just... Can the chamber match just be the 6 guys, and can it be legit? So I don't see them doing that. I could see him maybe... attacking whoever, or it could be a feud between, Chamber and WrestleMania, just something on Raw. Maybe he appears on SmackDown and he beats up Sami Zayn and goes, screw him, I'm putting myself in the chamber.
That's a good idea also.
He could do something like that, because he could be like, well, if I can only challenge for something that's the Universal Championship, then I'm going to be over here. Because Braun Strowman's another one, but I don't care because I don't like Strowman at all. He's also completely lost. Like you said, they don't know what to do with him. And it's because they have too many people on the roster. It's like the same thing you could be said about Keith Lee. He's kind of lost. Yeah, he's in this feud with mid-card championship, but he doesn't feel special. And Damian Priest, if it wasn't for him with Bad Bunny, they probably wouldn't have done shit with him. So a lot of people on this show feel lost, and it's because there's too many people on this show.
Yes, absolutely agree. So now let's go to the main event. Boom. Like you said, winner gets the final entry in the Elimination Chamber. At least, like you said, all these former champions makes a lot of sense. I love it. It's really cool. And, that's one of the things that I really like, is like how they keep this thing like pure in between them. Hopefully, like I said, there's no interference. I would much rather see that. But we got to see our boy, one of your favorites, Paul, AJ Styles. He just says, let's talk about coffee, because we're going to recreate Coffee Mania or Coffee Mania 2.0. He says, no. And it's not in your destiny. In the destiny is me winning the WWE Championship. I cannot lose. And then he points out Omos. He's like, right? And he's like, oh, yeah. Mandingo says, yeah, I got you. Just got to pull out my, my 8-feet thing, and it will be fine. And then he says, but everything that Omos does, it doesn't matter if it is porn or it's in WWE, it will be with me. Phenomenal. So, legit, AJ, I gotta admit, his run in WWE has been really, really good. I haven't seen anything really low on AJ. Maybe like a few weeks ago with Elias and stuff like that. But other than that, he's solid. And AJ, you respect more AJ Styles because of promos like this. And then he had the first match he opened up with Kofi Kingston. This was okay, I think. Match quality, legit. But the only thing, I love the thing with Omos when he took Xavier out. Did you like that? When he just
and this was a good, opening start to the Gauntlet match, I thought. And they had a decent match, and like you said, a little bit into it, towards the first commercial break. And this whole Gauntlet match, one thing I want to make note.
You said you were going to book it, yeah. So tell me.
Well, I was just going to say, no, it went the whole last hour of the show. Which I did like, it was a long Gauntlet match. They gave it time. And also it's like, we only saw 2 hours of bullshit. And then, 1 hour of a pretty good match. The timing of it, I think, was a little weird for some spots, because the first 3 matches, you could say, of the Gauntlet match went very long.
Yeah.
This one with Kofi went pretty long. Like you said, AJ took a bump to the outside, and Xavier, playing, what's the trumpet's name?
Oh, Francesca.
Yeah. And then Omos was like, oh, okay. He pretty much picked him up and just, slammed him on the other side of the barricade. So he was done. And then as the ref is like, Mandingo, you got to get out of here. He's like, go film a video. Don't be bullshit. And then, AJ chop blocked Kofi. And that was the whole thing. Kofi, like MVP, like, I don't know, all these people got, tweaked knees. All their knees are messed up. So, AJ was going at, calf crusher, everything. And, he was just going after Kofi. And what did he actually hit? Was it I didn't actually see how he pinned Kofi.
It was just a phenomenal forearm.
Phenomenal forearm? Okay, yeah. But, I mean, they went a good, decent while. And then it's like, okay, let's see who's next. and then it was Drew McIntyre. And
Yep.
it's like, okay, well, this match will probably go a little bit. There's no Omos. They're going to have Drew looking strong, especially after that opening segment. But this match went really long, too. This, Drew and AJ, which, I like that because, like you said, AJ's a two-time WWE champ, a United States champ, all that good stuff. And, they're going to respect him. They're not going to make him, Claymore kick after 3 seconds and done. But, this went, I thought, really long.
Oh yeah,
and then you're looking and you're like, okay, well, there's still Jeff Hardy, there's still Randy Orton, there's still Sheamus, like, and there's only a half an hour left. Like, okay, what the hell's going on here? And then eventually, Claymore kick and done, but even Drew was limping. Yeah, from the calf crusher and everything.
Yeah, the calf crusher, yes. And the one thing, remember, like I like the ending sequence when, like, Drew bounces AJ and then he bounces in one of the ropes, and then he just bounces back, and then he's like groggy from bouncing, and then he delivers the Claymore kick. So that was cool.
Yeah, but like, did you feel the same thing? Like, well, how are they going to do these other matches? It's like the time, because then Jeff came out. And then this is where I thought, oh, this is going to be like, he's going to do a twist of fate, swanton. He's going to get the knees up, Claymore and done. But they actually went, a good maybe 7-8 minutes. And Jeff, showed some good intensity against the champ. I was getting some TNA Impact vibes. I'm like, okay, this is pretty legit. Yeah. But, it was the same thing. Drew, he went over in this. But, this is good. And, you and I say it all the time, is we really wish Jeff would get, be treated a little bit better. He cut a promo beforehand when he's walking out. He's like, oh, yeah, former WWE champ, in the chamber, you got to take risks. You got to be extreme. Nobody's more extreme than me, all this shit. And it's like, I really wish that was true. Like, I would love to see Jeff win, but it's not in the story. It wouldn't make any sense, so they're not going to do it. And I guess that's the one thing that sucks when that this is all predetermined, is that there's a story, and it's not anybody has a chance. But
it will be a good redeeming story for Jeff. But like you said it the best. They don't want to push him. They doesn't seem like they want to push him.
Yeah, so. they use him for his name value to get storylines and to get other people over, but that's pretty much it. But
because he's one of the, remember, he's the best tag team of all time. So like right there. So like you said, like then Randy Orton comes out. Randy Orton, like they had a good match, but of course we've seen this so many times already in Monday Night Raw. So
but now this is when they started picking things up, and I'm like, okay, this created a lot of or this saved you a good amount of time, so maybe that's why they had the other matches go a little bit longer, because they barely start going at it, and like you said, Alexa Bliss's music hits, and don't you love whenever this happens in any other match, the ref doesn't count because the ref is just as confused and scared as everybody else.
Invested into the thing.
Yeah. But of course, during this segment, the ref is counting the whole time. Randy Orton is selling this. Then all of a sudden, you hear, the ring announcer, Randy Orton has been counted out, and he's like, "What the hell?" Actually, does he even sell it, or is he just worried about Alexa Bliss?
No. He was just worried about Alexa Bliss.
That's what I thought. He didn't even. It was just like he didn't even care. Yeah, no. And then he was done, but see, then they buried him because one, he was just selling this whole Alexa Bliss thing like a moron. But when two, it's like, or when one, why should you be scared of a little girl when you're Randy Orton? You know what I mean? It's like if it was the Fiend's music or something, then maybe okay, but it was Alexa Bliss, and then as soon as he gets in the ring, he's a Claymore kick.
Yep.
So it's like you double bury Randy Orton, and I'm like, okay, that I didn't care for that. It should have just been the music, and he's like, whatever, I'll see you Sunday, Drew, and just he should have just left. But
he should have been like, okay, whatever, fuck you, Drew.
But then we had like maybe 7-8 minutes left in the show, and then Sheamus came out, so you're like, okay, we'll see a little something here. Bro kick, beat him down before the match, and Drew, are you good? Yes.
I want to keep fighting, yes. So like, I mean, like you said, I like the Gold Holland match. At least a lot of good stuff from Drew. I don't know if you should have your champion fighting all the time like that. I love the Future Shock DDT. If he didn't have the Claymore, the Future Shock will be like the perfect finisher for him. But like you said, like they started the match with Sheamus, and Drew was already like kind of out, so it's like, I'll continue, but so like they had like a pretty good showing. But did you like the ending though?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that Sheamus won this because we probably won't see him pin Drew, at least for the championship. So, like, we have this visual now. He says, I pinned the WWE champ. all this stuff. He's going to be in the chamber last.
And you give it a visual. You wanted it, you get it. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, it does good for this story and this feud because now it kind of stacks the odds against Drew, so to speak. Like, Sheamus pinned him once, he could pin him again. He's the odds-on favorite because he's entering the chamber last. But usually the person who enters last, we usually don't see them win. That's usually not the story they go with. So,
yes.
I don't know if you are the odds-on favorite, Sheamus, but let's go with it, just for the sake of it. And, I was fine with this. The only thing, like I said, with this gauntlet match is maybe make AJ and Kofi a little bit shorter, make AJ and Drew a little bit shorter. Jeff and Drew, I thought was, that was the good right amount of time just because you want to make Jeff look strong. And then maybe have Randy Orton and Drew actually have a little match. But like you said, we've seen it so many times. Maybe they're like, let's just do this thing with Alexa Bliss and get right on with it. So
look at Drew's face because Sheamus he said, like, I just been the WWE champion, and in the future I will be the WWE champion. So we'll see what happens at the Elimination Chamber. So that was the end of the show, and I think good vibes from it. Mostly, like the Gauntlet match was good, like we mentioned. Storyline with the Fiend, we'll see where it goes, but like he's gonna be reborn. He wants to be the Undertaker like that, and Elimination Chamber that is paints to be a pretty decent show. Now, I'm not saying, oh my God, it's going to be like NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day, but at least, for the main roster quality, probably a good show.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. This chamber match, I think is going to be really good. We're going to have, the chamber match on SmackDown, which should be just as good. And then, of course, the following, Roman Reigns match. That's always interesting because it's like, how beat up is the winner of that match? Who is the winner? Blah, blah, blah. So it adds some intrigue. And we're not going to get that awful Raw Women's Championship match, which, Asuka was the stepping stone. So that's also good news. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
exactly. Thanks to the daddy of daddies, Ric Flair.
That's right. So family, thank you very much. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Finish.
I was just going to say, last thing is just, I feel this Raw actually would have been one that really would have benefited from it being 2 hours because you have the hour-long gauntlet match. And then you just pick an hour of the best segments from the previous 2 hours. If Raw was 2 hours, I say it every week, this show would be so much better.
And the ratings will go up because it's less tiresome, to watch.
Mm-hmm. And also, don't you think USA Network, it would benefit them more to have that, straight up Steve Austin show be on at 10 o'clock instead of 11?
Because it's at 11, I don't think, like, if you want to watch Steve-O, I'd rather watch Steve-O with Jackass, not with Stone Cold Austin, but that's just me. So family, thank you so very much for being with us. Thank you for the love, support that you give us. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell for all notifications. That's all we ask because we promise every time better and more awesome content for every single one of you. Big preview for the Elimination Chamber. Where else can they find us in the social media world?
And make sure you follow us, Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and of course the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break.
Emily, thank you so very much. We'll see you for NXT. You and me have one more thing that is left to say, and that is...